Hello, this is Majle Parte, a member of the Design Tools marketing team at Lattice Semiconductor. Welcome to the Lattice Radiant Software Design Tool Flow. If you haven't checked the first part of this training, please go to the Radiant product page, go to videos, and look for Lattice Radiant Design Tools Flow Part 1. In the Part 1 video, we talked about how to get started with Radiant, how to create a new project, how to add design source files, and how to instantiate an IP using an IP catalog. In this Part 2 video, we will talk about the use of Simulation Wizard, how to add constraints, and what are the different debugging tools. We have Sukruth Krishnamurthy to walk you through these topics.
Hi, welcome to Lattice Radiant Software Toolflow Training. My name is Sukruth Kumar Krishnamurthy. I work as an applications engineer responsible for design software tools. Today, through this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use Lattice Radiant tool and some of the features we have in the Lattice Radiant software. To verify the functional simulation of the design, Radiant offers a simulation wizard. Simulation wizard can be found under Tools and Simulation Wizard. If you click on Next, you can choose your simulator from here. You can also simulate the RTL simulation, post-synthesis simulation, post-route gate level simulation, post-route gate level plus timing simulation. Since we have not done any of these processes, all these steps are grayed out for now. But once you complete synthesis, place and route, you will be able to see all these options and you will be able to do the rest of the simulations. For this, you will have to create a project name and click on Next. As you can see, all the files will be automatically added into the simulation wizard, including the test bench. The test bench is now recognized as a top module. When you click on Finish, a simulation project will be created and it appears under the script files. For this tutorial, I would not be running a simulation. To analyze RTL designs, we provide a tool called Netlist Analyzer. This Netlist Analyzer works only with LSE as a synthesis tool. In order to open Netlist Analyzer, go to Tools and click on Netlist Analyzer. Netlist Analyzer produces a schematic view of the design while it is being implemented. You can use the schematic views to understand the hierarchy of the design and how the design is being implemented. This Netlist Analyzer has 4 parts. First, there is a toolbar which has various options to control the schematic of the design. Then there is a netlist browser that provides the listed nets of module instances, ports, nets, and clocks. There's also a schematic view that shows a schematic of the design. Depending on the size of the design, the schematic may consist of multiple sheets. We also provide a mini-map, which is a miniature view of the sheet. This helps you pan and zoom in the schematic view. Click on this world view to see this. The bold lines in the schematic represents buses, and the green lines are the clock nets. You can also adjust the view of the schematic and navigate through the hierarchy in multiple ways using these options from the toolbar. We can also use the Netlist Analyzer to view post-synthesis views, which is under Technology Views. Since we have not done any synthesis, you will not be able to see the technology view at this point. But once you complete synthesis and map, you will be able to see the technology view, which is a mapped view of the entire design. Now let us see how to add constraints to our design. In order to add constraints to our design, we provide a tool called Timing Constraint Editor. This timing constraint editor can be used to add constraints to our design. First thing, we need to create the top level of the design. As you can see, the test bench is highlighted and it is the top level of the design. But we do not want to include the test bench to our implementation flow. Right-click on the test bench file and choose Include for Simulation Only. Now you see the actual top level of the design is highlighted. Once this is done, we can open the Timing Constraint Editor. Timing Constraint Editor can be found under Tools, Timing Constraint Editor, and since we have to do a pre-synthesis timing constraints, we can open the pre-synthesis timing constraint editor. This timing constraint editor presents the contents of the lattice design constraints file or an LDC file in a spreadsheet style format. You can use timing constraint editor to open and edit a current LDC file or create a new one. Individual sheets are provided for defining clocks, setting input-output delays, generated clocks, clock latencies, clock uncertainties, load capacitance, and any timing exception constraints that you would want to add to the design. And if you want to add any attributes to the design, you can do it through this timing constraint pre-synthesis timing constraint editor. Let us now see how to add a timing constraint for the clock. Double-click on the object clock. It opens up a dialog box. From here, I'm going to choose clock, which is the clock port. As you can see, the object command populates get ports clock. Click on OK. You can give a name to your clock. And I'm going to set my input frequency as 100 megahertz. When you do that, you can see the create clock constraint is created here. If you click on save, you will be able to save it to a file called an LDC file, which will be used for synthesis. I'm just going to give a name to this file. And you can save it in the project location. Click on save. It gets saved and it adds under pre-synthesis constraint file. If you open the pre-synthesis constraint file, and you can see the constraint being added into this file now. Similarly, if you want to add any other timing constraints, you can use this pre-synthesis timing constraint editor to add those constraints. You can also directly go to the LDC file and type in your constraints. Please note, this pre-synthesis timing constraint editor is only available when you choose Lattice LSE as a synthesis engine. It is not available when you use Simplify Pro. But you can use post-synthesis timing constraint editor irrespective of the synthesis engine that you use, and it will only be active once the synthesis is completed. If you have multiple constraints and if you do not want to use them in the design, we have a disable function. If you click on the disable function, that constraint gets disabled. If you save this and open the LDC file, you have to reload this. You can see that constraint is disabled. You can always enable them by going back to this timing constraint editor and unchecking this disable. And you can save this, and when you open an LDC, you can see that constraint is back on the LDC file. With that, we are now set to run the synthesis of the design. Please note we have selected Lattice LSE as a synthesis engine. You can also change the synthesis tool by going to Project, Active Implementation, select Synthesis Tool, and here you will be able to choose between LSE and Simplify Pro. For this tutorial, I'm going to use LSE as a synthesis engine. Click on Synthesize Design when you're ready to synthesize the design. This process might take some time depending on the size of the design. The output window provides the log of the synthesis. There's also a message window which displays any warnings or errors in the design. We also have a tickle console which can be used to run any of these processes in the command line mode. Now that the synthesis is completed, we would want to see how the reports are being generated. Go to the Reports tab here and open Synthesis Reports. As you can see, all the LSE synthesis log is recorded here. For the sake of convenience, we also provide Contents tab here. You can directly go to the top, the area report, or the clock report, and directly analyze the report from here. Along with this, we also have a post-synthesis usage report. The post-synthesis usage report displays the usage of the design based on the post-synthesis results. As you can see, it shows the usage, resource utilization of the design. This design uses one of the LUT4s, 65 PFU registers, 44 IO buffers, and 17 carry cells. You can also see a post-synthesis report and also a post-synthesis preliminary timing report. Again, we have a contents tab where you can directly go to the respective section. From the timing analysis summary, you can do a setup and a hold analysis and overall view. You can directly jump into the setup summary report. You can also jump into the hold summary report. And if there are any unconstrained parts, that will be reported in the unconstrained report. You can also see the detailed report of each setup and hold. As an example, if you just click on it, it goes to the respective section. And from here, you will be able to analyze the report in an efficient way. If you want to go to another section, you can click on that tab and it will go to that section. And you can see the detailed report for setup and hold. And this is synthesis. After we are done with the synthesis, the next step in the implementation process is map design. Before we proceed to the map design, if we want to add any other timing constraint or physical constraint, you can do it through post-synthesis timing constraint editor. As you can see, the post-synthesis timing constraint editor is now active since we are done with the synthesis. The post-synthesis timing constraint editor, you will be able to see if there are any constraints that are already auto-generated and propagated after synthesis. As you can see, a create generated clock constraint is propagated from synthesis, and this is used inside the PLL. We also had created a create clock constraint that can be seen here, which also appears in the post-synthesis timing constraint editor. After this, if you want to add any exception, timing exception constraints, or an input-output delay constraint, or clock groups, or clock uncertainty, clock latency, or any other generated clock constraints, you can use this post-synthesis timing constraint editor. Any edits to this post-synthesis timing constraint editor will be saved in a new file called the PDC file, which is the physical design constraints file. And that goes under the post-synthesis constraints file here. Please note, we can only add the timing constraints in the post-synthesis timing constraint editor. In order to add physical constraints, you will have to use another tool called device constraint editor. The device constraint editor can be found under Tools, Device Constraint Editor. Device Constraint Editor is used to edit the PDC constraints file. These constraints will be saved to a PDC file and the flow will return to map if you have modified any of these fields here. As you can see, the device constraint editor has multiple views. The right hand side is the device view. We have the package view at the center. We have the spreadsheet view in the bottom. We also have the netlist view. We have the toolbars. And in the spreadsheet view, you can see all the I/O ports which are mentioned here. Through this device constraint editor, you will be able to define physical constraints based on the design signals and logic elements. Define sys.io buffer properties based on the design signals. If you go to the global tab, you will be able to do the sysconfig related settings. You can also constrain clock signals to particular routing spines using the pin option. You can also view, assign, validate design signals and package pins. You can also assign voltage reference pins from the global tab. You can also perform DRC tests to ensure legal pin assignments or to detect incomplete or illegal conditions within the physical design database. You can also be able to back annotate post-route pin assignments to a logical constraints file. Let us now try to constrain some of the ports by assigning the pin location. Go to the Ports tab and browse through the section to which port that you would want to constrain. Since I know these, I would like to add them directly. I'm just going to constrain these pins. As an example, you can refer to the schematic of the device that you are using to constrain these. Once you're done with the constraint, you can save them, and this gets saved in a PDC file. So I'm gonna name them as post PDC file. Once you save them, the post in PDC appears under the post synthesis constraint file here. If you double click on the PDC file, you can see the assignment of the location for these ports. Once this is done, we will be able to do the map design. Click on the map design to continue with the map process. The map process uses this PDC as an input file to complete the map. Now that map is completed, you can open the reports, go to map reports, and you will be able to see the resource utilization in this map report summary. As you can see, the number of registers used in the design is reported, the number of LUTs used in the design is reported, number of PIOs used. You can also see all the DSP blocks if you have used any DSP blocks in the design. This report also has a content section where you can move to different sections. This has a design summary. If you have any design errors or warnings, it would appear under this design or errors or warning section. And the PIO attributes. If you have any attributes used in the design for the PIO pins, you will be able to see that in this PIO section. If there are any unused logic that are being removed, you will be able to see that under removed logic section. If you have any PLL or DLLs, that will be reported under the PLL DLL summary section. And if you have any AC components or any hard blocks used in the design, that would be reported under the AC components. And if there are any GSR, if you have enabled GSR, and that GSR usage will be reported in the GSR usage. You can also see the runtime and memory usage for this map design process. We have another tab called map resource usage. This map report usage actually gives the resource utilization in a graphical form. You can see that my top level uses 36 LUTs, 65 PFUs and IO buffers. And my last level, the lowermost level uses 34 LUTs and 64 PFUs. This is how you can read the map report. The map also reports map timing analysis here. This is an intermediate timing analysis report. And this is all the timing report that are reported under map timing analysis will be an estimated timing analysis report. Again, we have various sections for the user to scroll through. We can directly go to the overall setup and hold summary. We can also go to the setup detailed report to see the detailed path report of that particular path. Once you're done with the map report and the map process, the next step in the process is the place and route design. If you want to change any physical constraint at this point, you can always edit them in the PDC file. But please note, once you modify any contents in this PDC file, the process of map resets and you will have to do the map design from the beginning again. If you want to do a post-synthesis simulation at this point, you will have to generate the post-synthesis netlist simulation file. So to do that, click on this tab and double-click on the post-synthesis simulation file. That generates a post-synthesis simulation file that can be used for a post-synthesis simulation. Now, the next step in the process is place and route. Click on place and route when you're ready to place and route the design. As you can see, the process tab here is circulating, and this means that this process is being carried out at this point. You can also choose IO timing analysis, but by default, place and route timing analysis is chosen. And once the place and route is done, the place and route timing analysis also will be done, and you will be able to see the actual timing results of the entire design. The time it takes to place and route a design depends on the size of the design. If the design is very small, place and route may take a couple of seconds, and if the design is very large, the place and route may take a couple of minutes. You can always check the output window and the messages to see if there are any warnings or errors in the design. As you can see, the errors reported here are 0, and there are 3 warnings, and there are 1 info. Now the place and route is completed. You will be able to see the place and routed timing reports and the log files. Here, this reports the place and route cost table summary. As you can see, the word slack is 7.947, and this also displays the word slack for hold. From here, you can always jump to the device utilization summary, best power run, clock report, or an NBR summary. You can also go to the signal or PAD report to see what ports are placed on what pins. And you will also be able to see the buffer type and the site that these pins are being placed and the properties based on the selection. You can also see a pinout table here in this signal or a PAD report. Again, if you go to the content section, you will be able to jump into any of these sections. Along with that, we also have a place and route timing analysis report. This is the exact timing analysis, accurate timing analysis report that can be seen post place and route. And this is not an estimated report, but this is the actual timing of the entire design. We can jump into the overall setup and hold, and you can see that the constraints coverage is 52%. That means the entire design is not constrained, and you still have about 48% of the design to be constrained. You can go back and constrain them. If you want to see the detailed setup report, you can go to the detailed setup report and you can read the timing reports from this section. Once you're done with the place and route, you can always verify the functionality of the design post place and route. To do that, you will have to generate a post gate level simulation file. Click on the tab and double click on the gate level simulation file to generate the gate level simulation file that can be used for post route simulation and also post route plus timing simulation. Once we're done with the place and route, we will now be able to analyze the post place and route results. To do that, we have a tool called Physical Designer. A Physical Designer is a combined GUI interface of both placement mode and the routing mode accessible within one Radiant software tool. This provides for one central location where a user can do all the floor planning and will be also able to view the physical layout of the design. To open the Physical Designer, go to Tools and click on Physical Designer. When you open the Physical Designer, the floor planning view opens up. Through this floor planning view, you will be able to see where your design is placed. You can also change this mode to an IO mode by clicking on this P and changing it to an IO mode. This shows all the IO constraints and all the IOs placed in the design. The placed IOs will appear here. You can zoom in to see the pink ones are already placed and these gray ones are the ones that are left unplaced. If you have a large design with DDRs, you will also be able to place all the DDR pins along these banks, which also has an e-clock group and all the required pins that can be used to place the DDR blocks. Along with this, we also have a physical view or the routing mode that you can use to see the routing of the design. As you can see, this is how the design looks like post routing. These are the routed nets, and if you zoom in, you will also be able to see the slices and the connections. This is a very handy tool to see how the design is routed and placed after place and route. And if you have anything from here, you can always go back and change the RTL or use other debugging tools to debug to see what exactly is happening. We also have a functionality called cross-probing. What is cross-probing? If you want to see something from the placement mode, and if you want to see how it looks in the physical view, you can right-click on one of these placed slices, right-click and select Physical Designer Routing Mode. This opens up the Physical Designer Routing Mode, and it shows you how it looks like in the physical view. You can also do that from the reports. If you go to the Place and Route reports, and if you go to a Setup Detailed report, you can also see the path shown in the Netlist Analyzer, Physical Designer Placement Mode, or Physical Designer Routing Mode. Let's say I have a failing path and I want to see how this is being routed. I can always go to the Physical Designing mode to see that particular path of the design. You can also go back to the reports and see how it looks in my placement mode. This is how the placement mode looks like for that particular path. You can also go to the Netlist Analyzer and see how this is connected using the Netlist Analyzer. This is a very handy feature if you're using this for debugging purposes. Now that we're familiar with the cross-probing, let us see how to look at the timing reports in a different way. We can use the Timing Analyzer tool that comes along with Radiant. To open Timing Analyzer tool, go to Tools, Timing Analyzer. This timing analyzer is a different way to look at the place and route timing analysis that you might find it easier to read. Timing Analyzer runs the timing analysis and presents the results on these three spreadsheet tabs. Plus, there is a query tab so that you can search through these paths using this query tab. The information on the timing analyzer is very similar to that in the place and route timing analysis report, but is presented in a different way. You can also go to the critical path summary to see all the critical paths listed in a different way than you see in the reports. You can also go to the critical endpoint summary to see all the critical endpoints, their slack, and their analysis type. If you have any unconstrained paths, that can be found in the unconstrained endpoint summary. You can also expand all of these to see if there are any constraints that are unconstrained. These are the clock constraints that are unconstrained, some of the I/O ports that are unconstrained, and also some of the registers without any clock definitions would appear under this section. Alternatively, you can always read the reports from the timing analysis for the timing analysis using the report section for place and route timing analysis, and also for map and synthesis reports. If you want to make certain changes to the design post place and route, you can use the engineering change order or the ECO editor that is provided along with the Lattice Radiant software. This ECO editor can be used to correct errors found in the hardware model during debugging, or to facilitate design specification changes when problems are introduced with the integration of other FPGAs or components in your board PC design. You can use this ECO editor to change the I/O attributes, pull mode, drive strength, slew rate, and clamp. You will not be able to use this ECO editor to change the I/O pins or the pin locations. In order to change them, you will have to change them in the PDC file, and that requires you to rerun the process from the map design process. Any changes done through the ECO editor will be directly written onto the database file without requiring you to repeat the entire design implementation process. After applying the ECOs, you can continue to generate the bit stream for your design.
These are the topics that we have accomplished for today. We learned about the use of Simulation Wizard, how to set timing and location assignments, how to process a design, and the different debugging tools such as Netlist Analyzer, Physical Designer, and Cross Probing. The topics for the third and last part of this series are analyzing power consumption, how to analyze static timing, how to program the FPGA, and how to use Reveal Inserter. Thank you for watching.